Welcome to Trust the Journey. I'm Melanie Curtis.
And I'm Jason Moletsky.
Thank you, legit, for joining us today.
Yeah, our mission is living and learning, laughing and loving together with you.
We're here to grow and contribute through our practice of openness, honesty, vulnerability, humility, and trust, trusting the entire journey.
Yeah, and on that journey, we often talk about plant medicines, psychedelics, and other avenues of healing. When we do, we are sharing for informational purposes only. We're not doctors or therapists, and we don't promote doing anything illegal.
Inside us all, we have a deep, powerful knowing. We encourage curiosity, healing, and exploration of this consciousness.
Damn straight. Together, our handle is trustthejourney.today. Individually, you can find her at melaniecurtis.com and me at jasonmoletsky.com.
Thank you all again so much for being with us. On to the show.
Awesome. Well, super stoked to be here. And today I am thrilled to welcome to the show Soul. Soul is somebody who I first encountered on Instagram, and his content immediately made an impact on me, and I knew I wanted to have him on the show. He's also very active on TikTok. You can find him at Soul33. His history is his resume, which has brought him to this current moment in time. He suffered a decade of drug addiction, battled severe mental health, and attempted to take his own life more than once. He spent a lot of time in dark places where no light shone, copious amounts of money spent on addiction, huge loss of self-worth thrown into the mix, not in a good place. And beautifully, as we fast forward to now, after many years of soul searching, making better choices, and having a spiritual awakening, meditating, nurturing his body, and so much more, what simply started as showing up on a social media platform, sharing his experience and knowledge of what has helped him, has now spread to thousands of lives all across the globe, which in turn has shown him how so many souls are wanting to better their own lives and beat the demons they are currently facing. Man, brother, Soul, welcome to Trust the Journey. And can I say that I resonate with that story so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, my friend. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Where do we find you today? Where are you in this beautiful planet?
At the moment, I'm based on the Gold Coast in Australia, Queensland, Australia.
Awesome. So we're literally on the other side of the world from each other.
That's it. Geographically, we are.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the soul's journey is that the distance, the physical distance makes no difference at all, right? We resonate with somebody who we've never met on the other side of the planet, and they can immediately feel a vibration that tells me that this is somebody I want to get to know better. This is somebody who's on a similar path, and that the physical distance is irrelevant to that. So thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely irrelevant.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for your beautiful content. It is truly inspiring. I find your authenticity, the version of you that is right there in the camera lens, really easy to identify, relate, and connect to. What is it that got you to the point of being able to be your authentic self, find the true version of you, and share that with the world?
I guess what got me here to think the way that I think, talk the way that I talk, and act the way that I act would probably be the darkness. Being driven down into the deepest, darkest part of that hole, where there was only two ways to go, and that was up or down, and down was to, I guess, not to be existing in this physical reality anymore, or I get probably also being incarcerated, locked up in jail for the things that I was letting into my environment.
Would you say that so first of all, thank you. Let me receive that openness. And I can understand and relate to that sensation. And it's often referred to as rock bottom, that darkness. Yeah. I know that feeling. And I've seen a lot of my beautiful friends and family struggle with that moment as well. I'm glad to hear that you were able to find the light and not fall further into that kind of pit of the inescapable. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really ever understand the darkness in those moments that I'd already been living. I didn't think that it should be there, that it was necessary, but I thought it was, at the end of the day, I thought the darkness was an enemy of mine, and I just didn't want it to exist or be in my world. But to be honest, it was an ally. It was an ally of mine. It was a friend. It was trying to ultimately transform me.
This existence is polarized, right? This physical, three-dimensional existence that we're currently podcasting in.
Is it?
I find one of the things I've got it tattooed across my back is this polarity, right? This positive and negative, light and dark, life and death, up and down, always opposite. Everything has an opposite. And there's always, and it's a requirement of the world that we live in that there be an opposite. I mean, magnetism, right at the bottom of the concept of how the whole world exists. Frequency, the amplitude wave of frequency has a upstroke and a downstroke in the wave. It is this polarized experience that brings us relativity and perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had this similar journey in myself of needing to come to love the shadow, come to respect and honor the darkness within myself, and it's a funny thing to say others when I don't believe that there are others. The darkness in all that is. Yeah.
Well, I have this really, I love this thought, but it's a thought that not too many of those others that we talk about, which aren't others at the end of the day, can't really seem to grasp. And if I look at myself as an individual person, it was the darkness that ultimately transformed me and evolved me, changed me. It helped me grow into what I know. It healed me. I was lucky to survive what I went through. So the darkness transformed me and healed me. And I think if I've been looking at a collective level as well, with everything that seems to be going on in the world at the moment, there's a lot of darkness. It has been for quite some time. So I think at a collective level, the suffering that goes on in the world, I think ultimately that darkness and all that suffering, that pain and hurt will transform the world. It's just a matter of, I don't like using the word time, but it's just a matter of living through more moments, I guess.
The cycles are natural, right? If we look at the existence of, well, if we just observe the reality that we live in and we say, start with seasons as an example, or tides, right? Days and nights. Everything sways one way and then another. It comes and it goes. If it is to arise, it is to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of, a dystopian future or descent into darkness, to me, I don't believe it. And what I do believe is that there'll always be these variations and things always changing. And in viewing it in the sense of frequency and the sense of everything being based in energy, the rate of that energy, the frequency of that energy is going to rise and it's going to fall in order to understand itself.
I couldn't agree more. What goes up must come down. What goes down must come up.
Speak to me about your journey. Tell me about where you find yourself now, what motivates you, where you're finding your energy to get up and engage and be part of this journey.
I guess seeing how much growth I have done within myself, all of that change, learning how to love myself, to care for my 4 health pillars, which is my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health. It's been quite a task trying to, and still is, to try and keep all those in balance and being present while you're doing this without letting any of all this nonsense that the society of systems tries to push in front of our face every day. I'd have to say that the main motivator for me is that growth and trying to be present and trying to seek answers, but I'm not trying to force those answers either. I'm simply going with the flow of life instead of fighting it, letting life carry me on its shoulders. Because I found when I was trying to fight against life all of the time, I was swimming up against the current instead of letting that current take me. I had this awesome breakthrough a few years ago where I was so present every time I'd be walking along the beach or just doing my morning wander. I could meditate when I walk. Things would cross my paths and I would look into those things and contemplate those things. And I was walking on the beach one day and there was thousands of tiny little jellyfish just beached. And I literally had to step over all these jellyfish. So it was obvious that I needed to see what kind of sign I was being sent, like what I needed to know about that. And what I found was the jellyfish is one life in this world that completely surrenders itself and trusts the universe. It completely puts all of its trust in the ocean currents, that the ocean currents will take it to the place that it needs to be. Fully lets go of everything. So I knew that that's what I needed to do. And ever since then, I remind myself about that day every time I meditate on the beach, just to stay with it, be present, and just go with the flow of things. Don't fight anything. Just let go of whatever comes.
What a beautiful sentiment. That the jellyfish as a spirit animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really powerful statement. I love how the two pieces you were sharing there tie together, flow versus fight. And my own journey, I relate to, I've always referred to myself as a warrior. And even in this shift towards being a warrior of the light, somebody who is here to bring goodness, to bring love, to bring light to the world, I was still fighting my way through that experience. And it doesn't make any sense at all to become aware. Once I become aware of this idea that there is no other, there is nothing except my own consciousness and my own journey. If I'm fighting within my own journey, then I'm fighting myself, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a battle. I'm a warrior with my own experience, and I'm creating that for myself the entire way, even though it feels, and in part of me feels really empowered and really passionate, and I feel these sensation like it's important to me, like my values are in the right place. I'm still fighting it.
I know it is. We really do get in our own way. I had this absolutely magical experience. It was a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago. I went out and done an ayahuasca sitting with this awesome group of people, and it was on the second night. and on my second cup of ayahuasca, he put a little bit of something extra in there for me from the acacia. And what I experienced was I became this tiny little me, probably the size of my thumb. It was myself and the shaman just there. He remained normal size, and he would pick me up and pull me out of the way. And then a new little me would come forward, and then he would pick me up, pull me out of the way, and that just kept happening and happening. And the realization I had with that was, I've got to get the fuck out of my own way every time, because it's only me that stops me from doing whatever it is that I want to create. And I guess it was fear that, at the end of the day, it's fear that blocks me and stops me from, and puts myself in my own way.
I feel like that polarity concept is based, from, in my perspective, love or fear are the only two options. If we're not choosing love, therefore opening and expanding and welcoming and receiving, then we're choosing fear and we're contracting and we're tightening up and we're closing down.
I couldn't agree more.
Tell me about your plant medicine journey. You brought up ayahuasca. I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that I'm also been on this journey sometime, and I'd love to hear more about how it's played a part in your life, your transformation.
Okay, so when we were talking earlier, I was at that deepest, dark part of that hole, rock bottom. I ended a really big session on ice, crystal meth. This is after a decade-long time of doing it. I was just in a real bad place. I didn't want to be here anymore, and I had something called the fuck it's. And I just, said fuck it to life. I went out and bought all of this gear, alcohol, just to wipe myself out. And I didn't end up wiping myself out, but the after effects from all of that, I had my parents in my ear and my friends in my ear trying to get me to go to rehab, and I just couldn't bring myself to doing it. I didn't think it was going to work. So I said, look, to fix myself and to do, to help you guys out as well, I just want to jump in my car and head north and just try and find my way, just try and figure this out for myself. So that's what I did. But I had a plan to still take myself away from this physical reality and check out. Anyway, I was just praying to something, whatever was out there, to try and help me out, to try and fix me, help me through this. Anyway, I got to, can't remember the name of the location, but I got to this place and I messaged this fella on Instagram. His name is Aaron Singer. He goes by Ink Pray Love on Instagram. And I told him exactly what my thoughts were, exactly what I'd planned to do, and he reached back out to me straight away and gifted me with some things, some courses and some tools that he uses for himself and for other people. And then he also gave me the link up to a shaman, which is close to home where I live. And just that there alone, him reaching out to me and giving me what he gave me, gifted me, stopped me from doing what I was doing, what I was about to do. I ended up spending a year in this small country town by myself with none of my friends or family around. I created, a little mini life out there just to work on me. And I did that for that next year. And after that year, I ended up connecting with this ayahuasca group and went out and participated in that. I still had the idea in the back of my head that I wasn't done with the drugs. I was still in a pretty dark place, but I wasn't on that edge of the abyss of trying to take my life anymore. After going and experiencing that ayahuasca weekend, the feelings, the visions, the healing and growth that I went through there completely changed my perspective on this life that we live, or this life that I was living. It made a lot of my ideas, beliefs and concepts that I'd grown up with become dissolved. And I was starting life all over again. It was like doing 30 years of therapy in one single night.
Oh man, I'm so glad that you're still here with us. Thank you for that wonderful being who showed up and offered you some guidance. Thank you to that person.
You're welcome. It's such a hard thing to, it's an easy thing to talk about in terms of the way how I feel about it. That part's easy because of how the easiest word to use for this is fucked up, of how fucked up I was within my mind and how messy it was. It's hard to collect that information back of how it exactly went down. It becomes
Have you been
easier.
able to get to, have you gotten down to like the root of it, to really understanding where the self-loathing was coming from?
Yeah, I know exactly what it was. I was trapped in my cycle, in this poisonous cycle, because I couldn't forgive me. I couldn't make peace with the past. I thought the past was a thing and I was clinging on to that thing, but the truth is the past doesn't and never did exist. Every moment, I held on to so much regret and shame and embarrassment from the things that I was doing, the crime that I was doing, the drugs that I was taking, the effects that it had on my family and my friends, myself, those feelings that I had of regret and shame. The way to cure that was to get on more drugs. And by getting on more drugs, I would make more mistakes and then more regret and shame would come. So I needed to make peace with every moment that passes by, whether it's a good moment or a bad moment, so I could be more present in my life. And as soon as I forgave myself, it made me understand things more clearly, like I can move on with my life, no matter what anyone thinks about me, as long as I know I'm doing the right thing now, in this moment. And even if I make another mistake again, whatever that mistake is, I can let go of that again as well, as long as I learn the lesson. As long as I learn the lesson from whatever mistake I make, then at least it's not a wasted moment.
This concept of being our past, allowing our past to kind of stop us physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally in our tracks and continue to loop through the same painful experience over and over again. This seems like probably the number one most common thing that I have experienced and I've seen others experience, is this tendency to get stuck in a loop and become the trauma that we experienced. And as soon as we move back to a version of ourselves that allows us to change, allows change to be part of our experience, then that can actually start happening again. And I feel like what these medicines do for us is kind of open up that door of possibility, right? Where we're trapped in a loop that is just recurring and recurring and recurring. And even if we're able to see it, even if we're able to objectively observe it and say, man, I'm just stuck in this, I'm stuck here, and we see it happening, we don't necessarily know how to get traction in order to get out of it, or how to see an escape route out of the loop. And a lot of the time, it's right there. All we got to do is change our perspective. I mean, like, if I just go that way instead of trying to continue on this way, there's a way out. But we're unable to see it. And these medicines, plant medicines, psychedelics, they open up that perspective, give us a wider field of view and say, there's another way.
Couldn't agree more. And I believe all paths lead to the truth. I've done a lot of research.
I agree.
Done a lot of research into many religions, many cultures. Not biased towards any of them. I believe they all lead to that one whole truth. There's actually a have you heard about the blind and the elephant? Have you heard that analogy or that little story before?
Well, please tell it if you can.
So there's 4 blind men, and each of these blind men are touching a specific part of this elephant. You've got the first blind man who's touching the elephant's nose, and he believes what he's experiencing of that, he believes it's a snake. You got one blind man touching the elephant's side, and his experience of that believes it's a textured brick wall, say. Third blind man touching the elephant's ears, he believes it's some type of fan through what he experiences, and you've got the last blind man touching the elephant's tail, and by his experience, he believes it's some sort of brush. That just goes to show, obviously the whole truth is that it is an elephant. But because each one of these individuals are experiencing something different of that one whole truth, their beliefs are actually far from that whole truth, just by what they're experiencing, if that makes sense. I guess our own experience merely unravels the whole truth. It's just by what we experience individually.
Thank you for listening. If you're receiving value from this episode, we would love it if you would show your support for the show by subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Instagram. You can click the like button, leave us a comment, or share the podcast with somebody directly.
Every month, we host integration coaching circles. These are safely held spaces for those looking to heal, grow, and connect in community. They are beautiful, alive. So much good work is happening. You are invited to join us. Go to trustthejourney.today/integration. You can join the Trust the Journey family, which includes these integration coaching circles and our private Facebook group where we connect and support each other. Sign up by going to our website, trustthejourney.today, obviously, and click on the orange Patreon button.
Yeah, it's your support and engagement that make the show possible. We love connecting with you. So feel free to DM us anytime on Instagram with your thoughts at trustthejourney.today. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. I completely relate. In my personal journey, I left my home country and I left behind a life and a reality that I believed or understood to be, the elephant's tail, right?
Yeah.
I had that job. I had those friends. This is my family. This is my potential paths ahead. These are all the things I know to be reality. And I made a very courageous decision as a young man to break out and go start a new life in another land, faraway place, and reframe that reality. And it sounds like the move that you made for yourself to break out of the pattern, and even if only temporarily set up a new life somewhere else, creates that same opportunity for us to view ourselves in a different way, or at least in a different reality, a different concept.
Yeah, you're right. And I was starting again, starting from scratch. I'd lost everything. My family were still there for me. Some friends were still there for me. I'd lost material things, and I'll be honest, the way that I thought back then, that hurt. Like, I was like, oh, what's the point of this thing? Like, what's the point of materials? You know what I mean? They don't benefit your life at all. They were just things that I wanted because of how society wanted me to be. You know, what they were pushing in front of me and what everybody else was doing. I was following a crowd. But the truth is, I didn't need those things. Once I lost all of those material things, like, my thoughts cleared up. Every material thing that I'd clung onto, whatever that thing was, that was coming back as a thought. And, you know, when you go through, like, the biggest one for me was financial hardship, especially at that time. Those materials that I wanted to cling onto and keep in my life, they were causing me some serious pain. But if I'd just let go of those things and seen that those things were unimportant, there would have been so much more room within my mind, because those thoughts were no longer there to create new and better thoughts. And that's what I was forced to. The universe said, hey, this is enough. You know what I mean? You need to learn this the hard way. We're going to strip you clean of pretty well everything, so you're either going to see or you're not going to see. And if I didn't see, things would probably be, I may not be here anymore.
I lived a life of feeling like I need to learn things the hard way, as if I feel like part of the programming of society is that men only learn the hard way, and that's something I've actually wanted to reframe in my own life experience. Like, and it actually came to me during an Aya ceremony, where I had a very pleasant, soft, loving, held experience throughout the course of the evening, where ayahuasca said to me, this doesn't have to be hard. You're choosing for it to be hard. And that if you also choose to allow yourself to be able to learn the easy way, then that can be how you experience life. Man, I cried so much.
Oh, I mean, and it was so nice. So she is so gentle with me. Also, she really just trickles me into where she needs to take me and what she needs to show me. I've heard of a lot of, like, people go through some really hard times and it's very full on, but it just feels like she takes me hand. She's like, everything's fine. Like, really just so gentle.
I've had both experiences. When I've asked for her to be gentle, and when I say her, I'm speaking about grandmother ayahuasca. I've asked for her to be gentle, and she's been gentle. And when I've showed up and said, let's get to work, let's do this, I know this is going to be challenging, but let's do it, then that's also been my experience. I wanted to touch on something that you said earlier on. You said you were prioritizing 4 aspects of yourself: your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. And I'd like to dive a little deeper into that and hear how that looks for you. What does that look like as far as a daily, weekly, monthly practice?
It's definitely daily. If I miss my daily practice, I can be a little bit I can feel a little bit funny. I just am not I'm not present when I don't do my morning routine. I do mixed up. I don't keep it the same every day, but exercise is always a really huge thing for me. And by the way, all of these things come from thought. So life is all mental. So anything that I do physically arises from a thought. So if you can get your thoughts under control and be stronger, we aren't our thoughts at the end of the day. But if we can change our mindset and set our mind up right towards things, and we can start balancing out those 4 pillars, But exercise, I take my physical body out every morning and I either go for a run or a walk. After my run and walk, I sit down and do 20 minutes of meditation. I wish I could had more time for this, but I start work pretty early in the morning. But I sit down and meditate. Sometimes I listen to music, or sometimes I just sit with the sounds of the ocean and the birds that are going by. I feel the wind on my face. That's what gets me present. I just observe, witness, and watch all of these things happen. And I do a lot of self-investigation in that moment. I ask myself questions if there's any troubles going on, challenges in my life that I need answers to. I talk to myself and ask myself how to navigate myself around these challenges, and answers always come back. And I believe that those answers come back from my higher self. So that allows me to overcome certain challenges in my life. I guess that that helps me with my mental and emotional health. And with my spiritual health, meditation is that one again as well. But I also open up a portal through psychedelic healing every couple of months. I've been doing my own ceremonies with magic mushroom psilocybin lately. So I've been taking some pretty high doses of that every couple of months. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I can have these psychedelics sitting at home with me and only do it every couple of months. So it's proved to me that they're non-addictive. I don't like to use the word drugs. I believe everything in this, if we want to talk about drugs, I believe everything in this world, in this life, can be drugs. If we abuse any one thing too much, it can be toxic and poisonous for us. We're addictive animals at the end of the day, I believe.
Yeah, the concept of a drug is something that's been put upon us by an institution of called medicine. And the reality is that drug is determined by dosage, right? And the purpose, the intent behind taking it. I could say without a shadow of a doubt that last night I was drugging myself with food, right? Most certainly reaching for food to want to like have something to feel like I need to compensate with. Yeah. I love where, thank you for the share. I love where you're going with that. I find such deep connection to this concept that from my own experience, if I put my physical body at the front of the list for needs and I get it moving, and then I use the same as you, I go into nature and I'm outside, feeling the wind, the sun, the rain, the dirt, the animals, everything in nature becomes part of that spiritual side of the practice. So moving the physical body, engaging the natural world, and then the mental health that comes, the clarity that comes following that or in doing that creates the emotional and spiritual space and context and interaction. And I have a question for you with regards to your dialogue. Is it internal? Do you ask yourself the question inside your head and then hear an answer inside your head, or do you ask the question out loud and then hear an answer? Does it come out loud? How does that work for you?
It's all internal. Some days I speak it out loud. I'm just sitting there on the beach. I'm in my own space. But a lot of the time I just ask it as a thought within, and the answers are always really simple. Like I've found all the answers are within. If I'd been able to take the time when I was going through my darkness and I just sat myself down and said, why do you feel the way that you feel? And the answer would have came back with, like, there would have been a few, but obviously I needed to let go of the drugs. I needed to let go of the past. I needed to make peace with all of that. I needed to let go of some poisonous and toxic people that I was letting into my world, and poisonous, toxic experiences. I needed to let go of the alcohol, the food. I needed to let go of a lot of things. So what Buddhism has probably taught me the most out of all of them. The Four Noble Truths, we suffer. There's no doubt about that. There's pain in this world. And the reason why there's so much pain and suffering in the world is because we attach and desire things. We cling on to things. So how do we end that suffering? The only way to end it is to detach from whatever those things that we're attaching to that are causing suffering. We need to detach from them. And what comes back with me a lot when I do talk with people about this, they're like, oh, so we can't have anything, we can't attach to anything. I'm like, no, you can absolutely attach to things, but it's just when those things cause you pain and those things won't change. If you do want your life to change and you want to feel better, you're going to have to let go. Like the one lesson that we need to learn at the end of our journey in this physical reality is we need to let go of our vessel, our physical body. So that right there tells me that it's probably the biggest lesson that we could ever learn in this life is to let go.
The entire universe that we live within is driven by energy. We refer to it as electricity a lot of the time. We also refer to it as energy when it comes in different forms. This concept of resistance, of attachment, right, is something I've been pondering on a lot. And I love just diving into this in allowing myself to view it in a kind of logical, technical, mechanical way, and stepping out of it from like the human experience and just saying, if it is just about letting energy flow, about letting the ocean currents carry us like the jellyfish, if it is about being water, Bruce Lee's statement, just be water, flow, then this tendency that we have to push back against that natural occurrence, that natural, cycle of energy to want to be moving, to be changing. This is attachment's definition, right? This is the concept of resistance. We get stuck in some pattern within ourselves, some experience, good or bad. A lot of the time, so we have a beautiful experience, something we cherish, and we decide to grab onto it and hold on to it and try not to ever let it go. Mm-hmm. And in that, there's resistance of change. And you brought this beautiful point up, and I'd like to return to this which is the physical body, the vessel. And it's wonderful how at least the Christian religion, it embodies this idea that, Christ rose from the dead, right? And that he will return, right? So this is the infinite loop, right? Like he rose from the dead and he will return. And in that, we have our own idea, our own version of our journey here. We know this vessel's temporary. We know that it's only going to last some undetermined period of time, not likely more than 100-ish years, if we're very lucky. And the sooner that we let go of the idea that it's going away and we embrace the idea that it is finite, the freer we become, the more joyful we start to become, the more celebratory, the more present that we start to become. And I wanted to tie this to this concept of the body, Jesus' body, died. He died. The body did not ascend, right? The body stayed behind. It's his spirit, his soul that has ascended and that will return. And this analogy is one that's present for all of us. It's here for all of us to step into and recognize. And yet it's also seems to be the most challenging of all the ones that are there, is this idea that all is good. If we just let the ocean currents carry us, they will take us to where we need to be, and all will end when it's supposed to end, and all will start again when it's supposed to start again. It's magical how simple this idea is and how obvious it is. Just by observing nature, everything comes and goes. It all just works in perfect harmony. And yet in some part of us, we feel the need to try to want to control, to resist, to be embattled with this idea that the universe already has everything worked out for us. And all we need to do is just allow it to do what it wants to do already.
Yeah, you're right. And many don't, they wonder, when is my time? When am I going to start feeling better, or when the good thing's going to come to me? But I love how you mentioned, you can observe nature and it'll tell you the answers. My favorite is the butterfly. A butterfly doesn't know that it's going to be a butterfly. It starts its life as a caterpillar, right? Or is it the other way around? I can't remember.
Well, where does life actually start and where does it end, right? I mean, that's the definition of the whole journey. Who knows?
Like a baby bird, flying for the first time, it's got no idea if it can fly or not, but boof, out of the nest, you can fly. All good. It's just a matter of, that right moment. Just have to be patient.
Do you think, so let's go into that baby bird experience for a minute, because it's dear to my heart as somebody who's in air sports my entire life. That moment of trusting and throwing ourselves into the abyss, right? There is a certain amount of letting go, of handing the control over to the universe, God, destiny, our own willingness to take a risk, our own, just being able to say, fuck it, in the most beautiful way. Yeah.
I think so too. And with a baby bird, like, I don't think it has really any ideas, beliefs of, that it is even putting or taking any risk on, because it hasn't been conditioned enough yet, I guess. And like you said, it just fully trusts, it's full trust that everything's going to be okay.
And children are the same way, right? Our own children, our own experience as a child, we don't understand this idea of fear until we've either been told we should be fearful, or we've experienced something on our own that has taught us, that we should be cautious. There's a need for, some level of caution around certain risks, right?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Children are such great teachers that way.
Oh, definitely. The young fella, Henley, he's starting to cling on to a bit more things now. But last year I was just watching him and he was just playing in the back, just with a toy car, just in his own little world, just real present with that car. He has not been conditioned to any of this other sinister stuff yet. And I'm trying my hardest to help the boys, because there's three of them, Hunter, Huxley and Henley, 9, 7 and 4. Trying my hardest to teach them, what I've experienced and what I've overcome, and the things that are out there. It's okay to learn those things, but don't take all of it on board as the truth, especially with what they're learning in school. You know, do good in school or whatever. Like, if I had the resources, the boys wouldn't be in school.
I've thought a lot about that, watching the modern American school system and having had my own experience with public schools. And I don't think that if I was a parent that I would enroll my children in school per se, based on kind of how I see they pretty well, at least here in America, the schools and the prisons look like the same systems to me. The buses, right, the fences, the buildings, the cafeterias, the structure, it's just about the exact same thing in a lot of, yeah.
It's just an institution, isn't it?
Yeah, institutionalized.
Most parents think that they've raised their kids, but the truth is the government raises them. They're at, how old are they? They're 4 years old by the time, or even younger by the time they start going to prep and kindergarten, and then after that they're straight into school. They spend 8-9 hours a day, 5 days a week at an institution that is set up by the government. So the truth is, parents out there that think they raise their parents and send those kids to school, you don't actually raise your own kids. It's the government that does. So how do you think they're going to end up?
Yeah. I would consider myself very fortunate to have dropped out when I was quite young and found my way through life without a proper education. So I feel like I've done a pretty good job without it. So thanks, universe. Thanks, Jay. You did good. Yeah, I know you did good. Lately, I've been patting my young self on the back for how well I did.
You did do well. I dropped out of school as well, and I didn't listen the time that I was there. So I'm glad I didn't take any of it on board. I was too busy thinking about surfing at that time.
Yeah. I got an elementary school education, and it was a hodgepodge of, I can read and write and do math. Good.
Yeah.
I want to circle back. There was a comment that you made earlier, and it really touches a special place in my own spiritual journey. And I want to get more insight on it from you because I feel like there's more there to unravel. And there's two elements to this. One, you touched on a psilocybin practice, a spiritual practice with psilocybin, and this inward look that we're given through that wonderful compound. And you talked about something, and I made a note for myself, and the note is the answers are already there. And it's about this inner dialogue of kind of like the intellect needing to engage the knowing part of ourself, needing to engage our soul, which already knows the answers. We just have to be open. Our soul's like sitting there waiting for our intellect to say, when are you going to ask me? I've been sitting here with the answer the whole time. I've even told you the answer a number of times, and you just haven't been ready to listen. Do you relate to this? Do you feel like this is something when I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing that's not healthy for me, my soul's there like, this isn't the path. Why are you doing that?
Couldn't agree more. There's, even without the magic mushroom work or any psychedelic plant medicine healing, I have told people that are in the thick of drug addiction, because I talk with a lot of people going through those times, coming from what I went through. I get people reach out on Instagram all the time, and the first thing I say is sit yourself down and ask yourself if you should be doing those drugs. Like, tell me what answer comes back. The answer is always no. So why can't we, and this goes for everyone, me back in the day, why can't we listen to that no? Why is it that we always, that's the, I guess, the light Like, you've got light and dark. You've got the light trying to help you out, but most people want to believe into the dark thoughts, because with the darkness and things in this world, I believe the darkness disguises itself as heaven. And that's drugs, isn't it? Drugs are hell, and it's disguised as heaven. It makes you feel really good. It numbs you from the troubles that you're going through, but creates more demons while, and every time that you use and abuse certain things to break away from this reality. Well, the truth is, you need to go through that. And it doesn't even need, like, drugs as in terms of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication that this big pharmaceutical game make up to mask us and numb us from, the things that we need to feel and go through naturally and build resilience from naturally. That's why so many people are depressed and anxious. And the truth is, they're just labels at the end of the day, aren't they? Everybody can be depressed, whether it's extreme or minor. Everyone can get anxiety, whether it's extreme or minor. But I think people have become very, and I mean this word with love, but weak, because they haven't been building resilience naturally and going through things the way that they need to be going through things. And I was that weak person back then. And what I went through to when I had that ayahuasca journey, that first ayahuasca journey, like I won't even look at a fucking Panadol these days. Anything from that big pharma game, if it doesn't come straight from Pachamama, Mother Earth, I don't want to have anything to do with it, really.
Yeah, I completely relate. My pharmaceutical cabinet has changed to a herbs and powders and plants over the last number of years, and I found myself much healthier as a result.
But what you were saying with when I do the magic mushroom journeys and the psychedelic journeys, it opens up a portal. It's a communicator for me. Like, I can communicate with it and it will communicate back with me, whatever I want to ask it. And it shows me in some very strange and unique ways. It'll come through as a feeling or as a vision, as a thought. And no matter how weird it is, I understand. It's easy to understand. It is so simple to understand. It's like, and it'll never give you answers to something if you're not ready for those answers at that stage of your life's path and journey. So if answers don't come back, I've found it means that I'm just not ready yet for that. I just need to continue doing the work that I'm doing at that time and just trust. Trust is a big one with me, to just surrender myself and just trust and go with the flow of things.
I had a recent, I went for a hike with a few friends, and we each had a gram of psilocybin mushrooms, and that journey, very mild, just a little bit of opening within myself to a little bit more deeper connection to those deeper knowings. Just a little bit easier to hear that soul voice that says, you already know the answer to this. Why have you been hiding from it? Why are you avoiding it? And I'm like, I can't ignore the voice like I would in a day-to-day life. Might try to subdue it with my phone or some food, or busying myself working on, twisting some wrenches or going for a run or using some other system to kind of quiet that inner voice that's like, hey, you're avoiding the thing that you really know you need to do. It's really important to you. My personal journey with the mushrooms has been that I can no longer ignore that voice, the voice is me. And I can't disavow that it's me who's telling me what I need and where I will thrive, how I will thrive if I only am willing to let go of whatever fear I'm putting forward and avoidance. Behavior is coming up as a result.
Like, I have this fear of, and these thoughts with all of this work that I do on the social media, and like, I've built up a lot of trust with a lot of people, and I love that, because the person that I come across as on social media, that is genuine, and I love that people can trust that.
Me too. Yeah.
And yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that one then. I sort of lost my train of thought.
It seemed to me like you were leaning into this, wanting to portray a full version of the alignment of the public perception of who I am is in line with the internal, this is who I truly am.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's use that segue as, first of all, a point of gratitude. Thank you so much for coming on today and for taking your time to share with our audience and Trust the Journey. And would you please and let everybody know where they can find you on socials?
So if you'd like to find me, you can find me on Instagram. Just have to type in Soul33. You can find me on TikTok as well. I have a website, www.soul33.com.au. I do have opportunities there for anyone that wants to do some growth with one-on-one sessions, or you can just have a little read through the bio and see what the whole website is all about. All of the videos that I create on Instagram and TikTok, they're just with the intention to help heal, grow, transform, if that's what you're willing to do. And I'm just of service to everyone. There's no costs or anything involved in any of the videos that I create.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would like to do two things before we close. One is say hello to all my Australian family out there, because I know that a lot of you are going to be listening to this episode, and Australia is deep in my heart. It's somewhere I've spent a lot of time, and I have a lot of friends and people I consider to be my family there. So I love each and every one of you, and I'm so happy that we get to introduce each other and meet each other here. And I also wanted to open the space. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Is there anything, if you've been handed the mic?
Handed the mic, yes. If you are chasing answers for now, the answer to every challenge or hardship, pain, suffering, whatever it is that you're going through on your journey at the moment, the answer for that thing is to use love for absolutely everything. Love is the key, and we are that one whole love. We are one heart. Bob Marley said it. He knew it. He sung it. He changed the world the moment said he lived in this physical reality. And there's a reason for that. It's because of love.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, my friend. It's been really wonderful getting to know you better, spending some time connecting here, and I'm truly grateful for your energy that you're putting into the world and who you're becoming and have become. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those words, my friend. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you exist. And I'm glad that we've crossed paths in this way, and I hope that we cross paths again in more ways.
I will look forward to it. I'm sure that I'll be in your part of the world at some point before too long, and my door is open. If you find yourself coming to America at any point, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome, my friend, and that goes exactly for you as well.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're excited to reach out to Corey to Soul33 at Instagram, on TikTok, and website, I'm going to be putting all of those in the show notes. And thanks so much.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.
Thank you, everyone, seriously, for listening, for spending your valuable, valuable time, energy, and heart with us. Every bit of it makes a difference.
Yeah, thank you. We would love it if you could show your support for the show by subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or follow us on Instagram. You can always click the like button, leave us a comment, or share an episode with somebody directly.
Like we mentioned, every month we host integration coaching circles. So much good work is happening there. You are invited to join us. Go to trustthejourney.today/integration. The Trust the Journey family includes these integration coaching circles and our private Facebook group where we connect and support each other. Join us by going to our website, trustthejourney.today, and click the orange Patreon button.
Yeah, thanks. It's your support and engagement that make the show possible. Thank you. We're here to connect with you. Feel free to DM us anytime on Instagram. We're at trustthejourney.today. Thank you. We love you.
We love you.
Keep laughing, keep loving, and keep trusting the journey.